are now listening to.
You're now listening to.
You are now listening to the Breaking Dads podcast. Enjoy.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Breaking Dads podcast. I am your host. My name is Woody, and this is a very special episode 7, siete in Spanish, of the Breaking Dads podcast. All right, this is a very special episode because I'm recording this the day before my 29th birthday. So shout out to me, shout out to all my fellow Leos, shout out to my fellow 29-year-olds. This is the last of the 20s. We're going to be getting into them 30s by next year. So let's do turning 29 the right way. All right. So I just wanted to do this episode, especially, I was going to take the week off, but I wanted to do this episode. I felt it was really special and important. It's going to be a completely different vibe and subject matter. I'm still going to touch on fatherhood and parenting a little bit, but this one is for you fellas. I mean, I know I have some female listeners, and shout out to every single one of y'all. Appreciate y'all for listening to this. But I want to talk to my fellas real quick, and ladies, y'all can listen because maybe this can help your brother. You know, if you got some homeboys that are male, you know, for y'all to have male friends. I knew growing up I had a lot of female friends, so yeah, this is just a very important topic. I wasn't able to get anybody on with me, so y'all will just be hearing me, and that ain't too bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and touch on the first subject I kind of want to talk about. It's kind of been a buzzword. You know how every couple months we get a certain buzzword that kind of gets overused, oversaturated a little bit, but it's been this buzzword I've been hearing a lot called toxic masculinity. And I've been hearing it, and it made me think a little bit, and it made me kind of reevaluate myself, because I'll tell you a little bit more about myself, is I've always prided myself on self-evaluating. I've done that for years. You can ask people that knew me way back in high school. I was just always an introspective kind of guy, as far as always looking into myself and trying to figure out why it was I was doing the things I did. I stopped cursing at, I want to say, maybe my senior year, senior year in high school. I stopped cursing because I heard myself on video one time cursing, and I just didn't like the way I sounded. I just always been that kind of person that kind of took inventory on the stuff that I did, good or bad, honestly. And I've been hearing this term toxic masculinity, and it made me want to really figure, is this something I've been doing? And is it something I've lived with? Is it something I've been up to? Because I've been focusing on toxins a lot, negative things that are coming into your body, your spirit, your life, all that, toxic people, toxic foods, toxic vibes, all that. So, and when I did that, I noticed there was a lot of things, especially growing up. Oh, that was my laptop. Let me know something. Letting me know, or there's things I noticed. Sorry, there's things that I noticed that I totally were toxic, and the things that we were taught and the way we were brought up. Because growing up, I was born '89, so 90s baby. Really, is where I was really raised, is within the '90s. And by 2001 I was 11. So yeah, I want to say it was '90s baby mainly, and we all know the culture. We're gonna be real. We know the culture. We knew how it was, and in black culture, Haitian culture, for me. But I was raised basically in both. I was raised in a Haitian household, but the people around me were black. So, and I had Haitians around me too. But let's not complicate the situation anymore. All right. In that culture, because a lot of the values are the same. In that culture, it was just, for boys, and it's funny because I would hear my sisters complain about the differences that boys and girls are raised in, and that's kind of where this ties into parenthood. There should be differences between raising a boy and girl, but I feel like some of the values shouldn't be different. We know the term boys will be boys, and I don't know, I feel like growing up that bothers me more now than it used to, because of the way that we see that it's going. I feel like society and even life, you're going to have trials and errors because no one has it figured out. Parenting is trial and error. You're not going to have it figured out. So with the whole boys will be boys thing, I feel like that's the time for it to, kind of kind of die, because we've been that generation of boys will be boys, you know, and it's gone on longer, but I want to say, like, hello, here we are now, and we're that generation of boys will be boys. And you know that I even feel like, me personally, like growing up, like I remember my fiance, some of her friends had sons. I remember one of her friends had a son, and you know, I'm joking around with the kid, and he's only a baby, he didn't really understand it, but this is what I was trying to like portray. I'm thinking, hey man, I'm gonna show you how to get all the girls. You're gonna have mad girls. You're gonna have 2 or 3 girlfriends, yada yada. I got that growing up. You know, I got it growing up. My godson Marvin, I was the same way with him. Any little boy that was around, you know, and I didn't have that many boys in my family. My family mainly females, and this is the wild part about it all, is, you know, and it was just, that's how we were raised. You know, those were the values we had. Were like, you know, the little boys were supposed to have a bunch of girlfriends, and you know, he's got to grow up and be here and be that and do this and do that, have this girl, have that girl, do this, that, and that's, you know, I don't think that's the way to do it, you know. And I don't have a son, so I don't have that, you know, that dilemma, that perspective. Hopefully I could get, you know, more insight from some people that I know that have sons, but you know, it's difficult. You know, as far as me being the son, let me not speak from the perspective of the father. Let me speak from the perspective of a son. And it's weird, because for my father, and that could be a whole separate episode of its own. But for my father, those weren't the values he taught me. My father wasn't, you know, directly from my father, and that's why I say it's you know, we grew up in an era where it was the village raising the child. It wasn't just a parent one-on-one, and that's kind of the complexity of the situation. Whereas like with my dad, I feel like he didn't, you know, want me to have girlfriends and do this and do that. He wanted me to just be in school. And that's the part where my Haitians could really like understand and relate to, because it was, you know, l'église, l'école, lakai. That was it. And for you that don't know Creole, that's home, school, and church. That's it. You went to church, you went home, you went to school, went home. That was it. So that was the way my dad wanted to raise me, you know. But it was, you know, through other, you know, then that era, it was harder for, you know, you to really be, you know, when you go to school, you know, your kids are going to be your kids. So it's, you know, through facets like that, and, you know, other people, and I don't want to say uncles really, but just other people, friends and stuff like that, other outside influences, you know. And also, just like I said, when you're raising a boy, it's different, you know. So I didn't follow that creed. Like, yes, I went to all 3. Don't get me wrong. I went home, but my house was the hangout spot. My homies came there, you know. I still dated girls. I was allowed to have girlfriends. My sisters weren't growing up, you know. And that's not, I'm not saying that was the point of it, but I'm just saying, like, once you get into dating and then you don't have your father telling you, all right, this is how you treat a girl, this is what you do. You're learning on the fly, or you're learning from other people. And that's where this whole thing of toxic masculinity comes from, you know, because that's what was seen as masculine, was, you know, being that player, having a bunch of girls, you know, bros before hoes, all these kind of things, you know. Those kind of values is what you're raised on. And what it is we grew up with those values, not realizing that the female, you know, the girl that you're chasing, or the girl that you have here and the other girl you have here, is a whole nother human being with feelings and emotions. You know, you're just worried about the gratification that you get from having more than one, or the game that you play juggling the two. How long can you get away with it without being caught, or can you get away with it without being caught, or whatever the game may have been. That's what was important to you, not how does this affect this other human being right here. And I know that's a lot for a kid to, you know, and I say kid and I mean in the teens, you know, but those are kids, you know. We gotta be real, you know. It's a lot for those kids for a kid to process or to think of, but it's necessary. You know, I just feel like with this day and age, and with everyone being connected, and the wires and, you know, wireless, and, you know, everything being, you know, what it is, and the world being open, essentially, like, that's important. You know, that's really, really important to everybody. That's important for them to know, is that you have to have to be careful and cognizant of other people and of women. Let's just say, as men, you got to be cognizant of women and the fact that they're human beings too. And that's what got lost. I feel like that got lost on us growing up. And that's part of the the whole toxic masculinity thing. It just took me a lot of years to really like, and like I told you, I did a lot of self-evaluation, and that's how I was. Like I felt like I was like my own therapist sometimes, like in a way. Like obviously I don't, I'm not gonna act like I knew everything, but I always self-evaluated myself, and it was like I would just say this: I wouldn't ever look sideways at somebody for going to get help professionally, either professionally or even asking a friend, because I feel like a lot of people limit their friends because that's their friend, or because this person does this or this person makes that mistake. You go to professional makes a mistake in their personal life, but professionally, they know what they're talking about, Like we discredit people because of their mistakes a lot, and we shouldn't do that. Or we discredit people because of their age or because of their gender or whatever it might be. Like sometimes a female might have a dope perspective about a guy or about, something about a man, and she's never been a man before. But you can't, put that limitation on that person. The same way, like some of like the younger cats that I knew would tell me some stuff, and I'd be like, damn. Because it's really about what you've been through in life. There's some 18-year-old right now that's going through something that me at 29, well, soon to be 29, hasn't gone through yet. So they have more wisdom or knowledge than I do in that aspect, and they, just like for me, I know I have conversations with some older guys in my job. And there's actually an older gentleman, I'm not going to put his name out. There's an older gentleman that I kick it, like, I go in there and I'll just chop it up with him. And I listen to him, and I've always done that. I've always listened to my old heads. I feel like, and that kind of is what tied into the whole toxic masculinity thing. But I always listen to my old heads. I always listen to my OGs. And now I'm getting to the point where I can not just listen, but I can talk as well. And that's what's really dope about the relationship that me and him have, is that he listens to me on the level of a peer, and he actually respects my opinion. And once again, for those of us that grew up Haitian, you understood that when Gamoon are talking, you shut up, or when Gamoon are talking, you don't know what you're talking about. And the word Gamoon means adults. But when those people were talking, you listen to them. You just listen. You don't really get to talk. When they're having conversation, you shut up. You don't interrupt. You don't butt in. But it's dope because we're on that level where he actually listens to me, and he actually values what I hear and what I say. He actually values what I say, and he actually hears me and listens to me. So it's a really dope kind of like back and forth that we have. So I'm getting to that age, and to that point in my life where I feel like I can get at the grown-up table. You know what I'm saying? And it feels like I almost had a disservice where I could have been helpful to more people if we had that notion of just because someone's younger than you doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about. Now, do they know everything? No. And young folks, I need to understand, I don't know everything, but you do have a voice as well. And that's also a responsibility of older people to listen to them as well. Now, you can listen to them, actually hear them out. And if they talking some bull, you let them know they're talking some bull. And same way, you got to check that ego, which then again, doubles back to the whole toxic masculinity thing. Because as men, our egos, man. I'll tell you that. And it's not a guy bashing session. And I don't want anybody to take it as this, because it's not what this is about. This is just we're going into the closet, and we're, taking out all the clothes we shouldn't be wearing no more. We're doing some spring cleaning here. And it's just that we really just really need to just like hear each other out and check the egos at the door. Like, that's what it is. Because our egos, men have egos, period. That's why, we have alpha males and all that stuff. We all have egos, and they're very fragile. Male egos are fragile. That's just, we don't want fragile to be associated with anything to do with us, but it's true. And we need to check them. The egos need to be in check, because I feel like at a time like period, I feel like always men's egos have been, have led to wars, have led to some of the worst, things in this world, and some of the best things in the world. And same thing with women egos. But we're talking about men here, it's like those things that we need to put into perspective what it is we're doing out here in this world, and what we're doing to the generation to follow. What are we doing with our kids? How are we raising these kids? How are we raising these boys? How are we raising these girls? Because it's the same way for fathers who have daughters. It's important. I think I've said this before, but man, is it important to instill these values of, self-worth, dignity, preservation, and independence in these women, in these young girls, in these girls you're raising. And the same thing in these boys. Once again, I don't have a son, but I know what it's like to be a son. I know what it's like to be a man. I know what it's like to be a boy. I know what it's like to be a boy out here in the dating world, growing up with no compass, no, nothing to really base it on. Nobody to bounce ideas off of. So, and I think it led me to a lot of the ups and downs that I went through in dating, period. So it's like, I don't know. It's been a heck of a journey. So I feel like for these guys and these, for these guys raising these sons, it's really important that we need to shift it, because we can say we're fine and we're really not fine. We know that. When you really want to, because we cope, we have our coping mechanisms. We have our coping mechanisms. We have everything that we have to deal with our issues and the problems that we're having. But it's really those things, a coping mechanism, they're really just, defenses we put up to guard ourselves from really having to deal with what we deal. And I guess that's the definition of a coping mechanism. But that's just in case for anybody who doesn't know what that is. It's just something that we put up to help us deal with what is really bothering us, or something that we just don't want to deal with. So first you need to understand those things. You need to understand what your coping mechanisms are. And then you need to determine whether or not they're healthy or not. Because if you have if you got a coping mechanism like you get to the gym, yes, that might be positive for you. Or if you have a coping mechanism like drinking, that obviously might be negative for you. But you also need to deal with what it is that you're coping with. You have to unpack that. You got to heal that wound, no matter what it is. You just got to heal it, because the longer you wait, the worse it's just going to fester. Like you can have a tooth back there rotten away, and you can sit there and use all the mouthwash and chew all the gum you want, but after a while, you gotta deal with the tooth. You know what I'm saying? You gotta deal with it, because it's just gonna be sitting there. So I just feel like that's the progression we need to take. That's just my opinion. Once again, like, take it with a grain of salt, but it's just important, especially for us parents. We gotta be able to fix ourselves. Like, now, no, you don't need to be perfect. Like that's kind of taking me to my next subject right there. But that's something that we need to address as well. We don't need to be perfect. There's no such thing as the perfect parent. And like growing up, you see your parents as perfect. You see, your parents could do no wrong, and when they do wrong, it's the end of the world. Like for, kids that have been through divorce, is seeing your parents split up, and it's like, oh my God. And it's so earth shaking, because that's how, and you can't blame kids for that, because your parents, you're such a cornerstone, such a key piece of their life. And if they're, you're what they know. So, and you're the constant, no matter what. So it's like, for you, for the child, they see you as that, but you need to understand that you don't have to be that. You don't have to, and listen, hear me out. You strive for perfection. As long as you're giving it your all and your best. Like, we've all heard people say, I'm out here giving my best, because that's true. You don't have to be perfect. Strive for perfection. Why not? Everyone should strive to be, the greatest that they can be. But you need to understand that when you fall short, it's not the end of the world. And it's not like you failed. You didn't fail at being a parent because you weren't perfect, because you weren't the perfect parent, because you're still growing as a person yourself, especially for us that had our children younger. For those who had their kids at 21, 22, you're still growing. You have a 5-year-old by the time you're 27 if you had a child at 22. You don't have it figured out at 27. Last year, I didn't have it figured out with my 2-year-olds, I'm going to be 29 with 3-year-olds. I'm not the perfect person yet. I'm not the best version of me yet. I'm still learning on this journey of life, And it's like, I can't kill myself for not having it all together. And I can't, and us as children as well, because we're all somebody's child. That's something that we need to do as well. Is we need to, I don't want to say forgive, but you got to kind of like forgive your parents for like the mistakes they made, because guess what? They weren't perfect either. They didn't have it together either. Like if your parents had you at 30 and you're at 35 and you're 5 years old and you don't have it all together yet. Like we get this like perception, and I feel like with a lot of like my peers, we're talking about, oh man, when we're 28, 29, we're getting old. We're not old yet. We're not. 30 isn't that old. When we grew up, we were thinking, oh, by 25, I'm going to have a car and a house and a wife and a stable job, and I'm going to have everything together. At 25? At 25? Yeah, right. Me personally, at 25, heck no. No. So you just think 5 years later, and you all of a sudden I'm going to have everything together and everything's going to be buttoned up and every, T cross and I dotted? No. 30's not old. You need to forget that notion. 30's not old. Now, are you like super young and you can be wild? No, don't get me wrong. Once again, especially if you're a parent, you can't be young and wild. Like parenthood, yes, does mature you more as far as what your outlook should be. But you don't have it all figured out is what I'm saying. You can't be young and wild and, out in the clubs and doing all that. That's something completely different from what I'm saying. So please don't get that misconstrued to what I'm saying. But you're not old by 30. There's a difference between old and, and mature. There's a difference. And your maturity level and your age doesn't always coincide. Like I want to say I was pretty mature as far as like a lot of other stuff. But I was pretty mature at a younger age. Sorry if my voice just cracked. Quick side note, went to go see Duval on Friday. I was laughing like crazy. So my voice might be a little, uh-oh. That's my alarm. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean for y'all to hear that. But so that my voice might sound a little crazy. But anyway, back to where I was. That's not an excuse to sit there and act like, you're wild and everything. No, that's not it. But you're not old. Maturity is different than being old. Because I was pretty mature, I want to say, at a younger age. I was pretty mature. More mature than the one, some of my contemporaries, let's say that. But, that had nothing to do with my age. And the same thing now. So I just want to say, don't limit yourself, by age. Don't limit yourself by age. You can still be mature, but you can still go out there and have your fun. It's just, with this day and age, we got to be more careful with our fun. We got to be more smarter with our fun, and we got to be more smarter with these kids and how they see us and what they see of us. And that's not saying we can't have our fun or whatever, but it's just like when you have these kids and when you're talking to these young men, you don't have to tell them to go wild out and go do this and go do that. For what? At this point in my life, the greatest thing is being a great dad and a great fiance. I can honestly say there's been nothing more fulfilling. Nothing. And all the wilding out I did in my younger days, nothing has been more fulfilling than that. Nothing. And you hear people say that, oh man, having kids is the greatest. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. Raising these kids is hard work, but it's so rewarding. This morning, I woke Callie up. I didn't even have to wait. I walked in the room and she just sensed me and she looked at me, got up, walked over to me and just hugged my neck. And she said, "I love you, Dad." I didn't have to say, "I love you, Callie." She didn't say, "I love you too, Dad." She just said, "I love you, Dad." And that honestly, like, I wouldn't lie to y'all on this podcast. I don't do this to lie to y'all. I put too much work into this. Let's say that. It's a lot of work putting this podcast together. Like, as simple as I try to make it and do it as far as production and everything, this is hard work. I wouldn't waste my time lying to you guys or feeding you guys some stuff that I don't truly believe and I don't truly live. I'll say that. I wouldn't do that to y'all. There's no point of putting this out there just to lie. That moment that they give me, and they don't do it they do it basically every day. But that moment, and I get, so I might be blessed and truly spoiled. That moment when they do, they either want them, Callie or Maya, just, give me a hug and tell me they love me, or I'm sitting on the couch with them and they just cuddle up next to me and put their head on my shoulder. Same thing with my fiance. We're sitting there laying up watching TV. She'll just turn over and give me a kiss and just, "I love you." Those are the greatest, most rewarding feelings in the world. Greater than any night out at the club, yada, yada, any of that stuff, man. Y'all, I'm telling y'all can have that, man. Is it fun to go out? And I'm not saying it's not fun to go out and hang out and have fun with your friends now. Or to go turn up, or, from single friends want to go out there. But you guys know what I'm talking about. There's no need to get into gory details. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Being out there wilding out. Knowing you got a lady, but you in the club doing dirt. Not doing dirt. Y'all know. I could just call it doing dirt. Y'all know what doing dirt is. So it's like, these things it's that tide needs to change. And I don't want to come off too preachy, but, y'all got to hear it. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, we gotta be able to check each other. We need to be able to, you always need, like, those people who have those yes men. It's always dangerous. And the women that have those yes women. We got to be able to check each other. You got to, "Hey, king, come on, you got to get it together. Hey, queen, y'all got to be able to do that." And that's important. And I feel like, it's going to take me off the topic a little bit, but I feel like that's been played a little bit. Because people, we tend to turn everything to jokes, but that's important. Words, I feel like words are important, like, that's why the B word is such, I don't, once again, like I said, I don't curse, but the B word is such a trigger to people because words matter. The word nigga, it matters. That's why they used it. That's why they used it to keep us down and to remind us how low we were and everything that they did, with the hard ER, that's why they used it. Now we've tried, we've gone on to try and reclaim our word and use it as a term of endearment, like, to flip it. I understand it. I'm one of those people. This is, like I said, I'm getting briefly off subject, but I just want to talk about the importance of words, right? And this is an important word, especially out nowadays. Like, I feel like I'm one of those people that believe in the flip. I believe in the reclaiming of the word and trying to change the narrative and owning the word. That's our word. Do we put it into music and give it out to people to consume? That gets into a deeper topic of how I feel like that gets put in there and why it got put in there. Fine, it could be put in there, but guess what? As society, once again, do another turn on it. Like, that's the combat. That's the warfare that we have with it. Like, yes, I feel like it was, sensationalized, put out there in a positive way, right? Like, this is our word, we're reclaiming it in music. And now here it goes. Rap is, genuinely, like, not genuinely, majority, like, a lot of it's white fans, at the concerts and everything. And they listen to the music, and it's mainstream now, and I feel like it's the number one genre of music. And now it's the word is all over these songs. It's all over these songs, and still can't use the word. You just still can't use the word. That's just how I feel. But anyway, to get it back, words are important, and that's why it's important to still be able to use those. Hey, king, you know what I'm saying? Like, fellow king, like, Words are important. That's why they hurt. And that's why they make you happy. That's why, I love you. That saying is so powerful as it's been. Now people are saying, hey, prove it to me, don't just say it, because people have overused that word. But it had power. Why? Because words matter. And if certain words don't lose that strength. You know what I'm saying? Like certain words don't lose that strength. Like a phrase like I love you can lose its worth, but people still want to hear it. Everyone still wants to hear it. It's not as powerful as it used to be. It lost its power, but people still want to hear it. The word nigger, like we may have like reclaimed it. It still has the power to hurt people. And that's the other side of the coin. There's some people, like those generations of people that, were there for the, the boycotts and everything. That word still affects them. And they are allowed to feel how they feel about that word and say that we shouldn't use it. That, they're justified. It's a fair point. I understand it. But this is what we're trying to do with the word. And this is how we're trying to move forward with it as well. But are they valid? Are they right to be offended and hurt by the word and feel that we shouldn't use it? Yes. Both can be true. We live in a world where a lot of people are saying it needs to be one or the other. Both things can be true. 1,000% true. And, as, society goes moving forward, it's like we shouldn't lose the history of the word. That there's power in words. So when you're black and you have that word and you're able to use it, you have that power. For those black people, and I'm sorry I'm getting off topic a little bit, but follow me. For those black people that have white friends and, oh yeah, you got a pass, you down with one of us, and you give them that power to use it, that's misusing your power. There's a power that comes in it. Like Charlemagne has the book, Black Privilege. There's black power as well. There's power. There's a privilege and a power that comes with being black. And that's part of it. And you can say, oh, it's just a word. It don't matter. Words are important. Words hurt. Some of the most hurtful things that have happened to people in their life was something said to them. It could be something done to you, don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's something they said to you. Your parents can scream and yell at you for however long. But I've heard for a lot of people, the most hurtful thing, what hurt them the most, more than any whooping they ever got, was when their parent looked them in the eye and you said, you disappointed me. Words are important. Words are valuable. You're listening to this. You're listening to a bunch of words from someone's voice right now because words are important. When that Tommy Lauren girl gets on the airways and starts spewing her stuff, the words that she's saying, they rile people up because words have power and they always will. Communication, language, all that, it's powerful. Or else we would never know how to talk to each other. We would know how to tell somebody this, tell somebody that, do this, do that. These gossip blogs, all that stuff. Words matter. They hurt. They bring joy. They bring pain. They bring happiness, bring sadness. So we need to really think about what we're saying out here. Like what you're putting in these comments, that kind of toxicness that you're putting out there. Like all that stuff is important, So it's important to, uplift each other, man. Like you're so busy worried about, oh, it's phony, it's this, it's that. Uplift each other. And mean it, though. Because what's the point? What's the point of a crab in a bucket mentality? Bringing somebody else down truly does not make you happy. And it doesn't make you any better. Because if you see somebody on their way up and you want to just tear them down, they're just down there with you, what does that do? It doesn't uplift you. It's not like you tore them down and you stepped up. They're just sitting there right next to you. You rip them down, they're right there next to you. So I just always want people to, just understand that. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it an episode. I said a lot. I've been through a lot. I think I'm over 30 minutes now going on about this. I haven't done this in a couple episodes. I kind of wanted to do the middle finger segment, but we got a little heavy there. Wonder if any of y'all saw the Obamas at the on the Run tour. Shout out to the Obamas. Man, I miss them. That was pretty dope to see, Michelle and Barack out there jamming to some Jay-Z and Beyonce. Next episode, I am going to get to the questions that I got asked on Twitter. I'm going to answer some of those questions. I got a good bit. I really, really appreciate that. Next week, I should have a guest as well. Next episode. Let me not say next week. Next episode, I should have a guest. So I'm going to have a guest on next. And I'm going to leave y'all with a quote because I haven't done it in a while. Also, I want to give a shout out. I heard Disney's coming out with a new black princess. I don't know. I hope it's pronounced Sade because it's S-A-D-E. It's going to be a live action fairy tale about a young African princess. So shout out to that. I remember, we already have Tiana, and there was some controversy with Tiana. Me and my brother had not a great debate, but we had a big debate back and forth about Tiana because of the use of voodoo in the movie. But let's see what goes on with Sade. I hope it's Sade, not Sadie. Here we go. I found the quote. This is the quote I was looking for. It goes, with every next level of your life, it will demand a different you. I'm saying that again. Every next level of your life will demand a different you. So that kind of speaks on to all the evolution and everything that I was talking about as you move through life. So just know that every next level of your life will demand a different you. So you got to constantly improve yourself, constantly do better, strive to be better. All right. So once again, it's the Breaking Dads podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening. Please subscribe on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. All right. It's the Breaking Dads podcast. Thank you for listening. We out.